Yo. Hey guys. Sorry, pretty disorganized this morning. I did not know at all that this was going to drop. Didn't have any pre-warning, so yeah. I'm obviously super interested in finding out about the siege rework, so everything else is going to go on hold for a little while while we quickly check this out. So I thought we'll just watch the trailer, check out the blog posts. If you guys have seen any other news, please let me know. We'll check that out quickly too, and then we'll get on with the Vlad von Carstein stream as usual. So without further ado, let's check out this new siege rework. Hey Raymond, hey guys.
Sieging a settlement should not be an easy undertaking. Total War Warhammer 3 has reworked how sieges work. With new ways of attacking as well as defending, every inch taken will cost dearly. Settlement maps are now larger, and we've introduced more variety of maps than in previous games. With the fall of the Turtle Gate, Miao Ying moves her army from the Snake Gate to Wei Jin in an attempt to bolster the city's defenses and drive Tzeentch out of Cathay. Wei Jin, capital of the Celestial Dragon Empire, is a three-walled fortress and a testament to Cathay's architectural brilliance. When defending, walls are the first defense against an attacking army, but by no means the last. We now have the option to turn the streets into a bloody maze. Using supplies, we can build towers, barricades, and traps. Prepare and plan your defense, but never rest easy. The first object for any attacker to overcome is the wall-mounted towers. Unfortunately for our Tzeentch invaders, towers now have wider capture areas, so defenders don't need to be as close for them to be active. This means we can spread our docked units across a larger area and pepper the invaders with arrows, bullets, and artillery on their approach. The might of Grand Cathay isn't enough to keep Tzeentch from breaching the walls. The walls will soon fall. It's time to fall back to our secondary positions within the city. Our defense now lies with our barricades, traps, and towers. We'll need a new currency introduced in Warhammer 3, supplies. We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement. Minor supply, key building, and victory points. These key points have pre-designated build locations for construction. Once a barricade or tower is constructed, it can be dismantled for a refund of supplies and rebuilt elsewhere. But keep in mind, construction and dismantling is a lengthy process. Barricades and towers are destroyed if their health reaches zero, or if the supply, building, or victory point they're attached to is taken by the attackers. If this occurs, your supplies are not refunded. It's worth noting that whilst attackers can capture points, they cannot build barricades or towers. Rather than a messy brawl in the streets, Warhammer 3's sieges are about defenders controlling the flow of battle, using a settlement's architecture to plan and execute layered fallbacks and hardpoints, where they can chip away at an attacker's forces. To this end, settlements have become multi-leveled with bridges and upper tiers that cross over streets, giving ranged units more opportunities to shine. A good many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit. In sieges, both the attacker and defender's role are tactically more challenging and more rewarding. Settlements in Warhammer 3 have been designed with more open areas and strategic avenues to hide troops in. The avenues are the perfect ambush spot, making flanking and devastating charges a more viable tactical strategy. In overview, Warhammer 3's sieges offer a diverse array of fresh settlements to overcome and protect. They allow defenders to prepare for a new kind of battle occurring after the attackers have taken the primary walls. They add a new currency to manage and spend on fortifying defensive fallback positions with barricades, towers, and traps which are used to further repel invaders. They allow for a multi-layered experience where units can be docked to overlooks and walls within the settlement itself, and encourages real-time reorganizing of defenses to adapt to an ever-changing battle. All of these features, coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges packed with highs, lows, and phenomenal visuals. Wei Jin has fallen, but the forces of Tzeentch will struggle to reach the celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor is safe for now. Even so, his daughter has barely managed to escape with her life. To Nangao she travels.
Okay, that's very interesting. Yeah, I'll let that run through again. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to unpack in that for sure.
Ways of attacking as well as defending. Every inch taken will cost dearly.
Yeah, I don't know where to start.
Maps are now larger, and we've introduced more variety of maps than in previous games.
I guess the first thing that strikes me as impressions-wise is just how it's sort of like a new. It's sort of like they've made the sieges like a new mini game. Sort of like the defense battle that they showcased a while ago. It seems like which is good in that, you know, that's going to be a lot more. I don't know, get you a lot more immersed in the idea of it.
We now have the option to turn the streets into a bloody maze. Using supplies, we can build towers, barricades, and traps. Prepare and plan your defense, but never
maybe we should read the
easy.
blog post. I had a quick glance at it, but I haven't read through it yet.
The to overcome is the wall-mounted towers. Unfortunately for our Tzeentch invaders,
yeah, so they're going to widen the control area of the towers. I thought that was weird. Like, how does that? Like, I didn't have any problems with not being close enough to the towers before. I'm not really sure how that makes a difference. Maybe I wonder if it would make it easier for enemies to disrupt your control of towers when they come along the wall. Notice they've still got the pocket ladders, so they haven't changed that.
Our defense now lies with our barricades, traps, and towers.
I guess that's one issue. They don't seem to have changed the fundamental way that the sieges work with the ladders, with every unit carrying pop-out ladders, with the way the extra structure of the walls being like 2 units wide kind of thing, with those 2 dockable sections. Did it mention anything about the back section? Because currently the front section of the wall faces outwards, and the back section of the wall, if you dock, I hadn't heard that phrase dockable before, but yeah, if you're like in the dockable portions of the wall on the back, your unit turns and faces inwards. We have figured out our ways of, like, you know, undocking your units from the walls. But basically, yeah, they sort of dock, and that's another thing I didn't really know about this whole like dockable thing. I kind of thought that when your units were sitting on the walls, you just had the actual like 3D physics of whatever the defense was that the wall was giving you. I didn't realize there was like a docked state. Well, I mean, I knew like in terms of the way that it snaps, the unit sort of snaps into position on the walls, but I didn't realize. It seems like when they said dockable, like it seems like they were saying that there's buffs that actually apply to your unit when you're docked, you know. So yeah, so I wasn't actually aware of that, but yeah, so yeah, they were sort of saying, where they were mentioning in reference to saying that there's other dockable areas, like this raised platform you can see here is like a dockable area like the walls, that'll give you the buffs and benefits or whatever of being in that position. So yeah, so I didn't actually know that, but apparently the dockable positions give you certain buffs and what have you. Yeah.
Currency introduced in Warhammer 3, supplies. We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement.
I don't want to get too much into like my feelings and stuff. I probably more want to talk about the actual like what's in the video and what's being shown to start with, I guess. But yeah, I guess I would just quickly say that with the supplies things, I guess that was my first impression of it as well, that it feels like the sieges are going to be a lot more like gamey now. than they were before. You know, before it was sort of a bit, it looked at least kind of realistic, you know, like there's walls, there's an enemy army, they're coming, you know, kind of like the old, you know, kind of like the old Rome 2 sieges or whatever. It kind of looked like it's just, you know, like a traditional sort of traditional kind of siege or whatever, whereas now it's clearly a different type of game type. It's clearly like a siege mini game kind of thing. Excuse me. Andrew says there's a mini map at the top right. Yeah, there's a mini map at the top right. I wonder if that will still be there if you. I wonder if that'll still be there if you're on Legendary, because normally you wouldn't have a mini map in Legendary, of course. Yeah, if you need to call out something to me in particular, then write at Mercy the Mad, so I'll see it.
Minor supply, key building, and...
Oh yeah, we should quickly check out what these messages say with this.
We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement.
So you gain supply by holding the locations, so you don't get the supply by killing or anything like that. I think in the other battles, maybe I seem to remember you gain supply by like fighting and stuff. So in this, you gain it by holding the places. Generates supplies and controls defensive structures. Okay, so it doesn't do anything apart from what it said. It does show you as little symbols down the bottom what it's actually controlling. So these lines that are coming out from here point to the locations. There's 2 towers that it controls and 3 barricade locations. I wonder if, as the point, like, I wonder if, because like in Attila, you know, you had these barricades and stuff in Attila, but you could only sort of like choose like one of the locations or whatever to build the barricades usually. Whereas this has got 3 locations. I wonder if the supply builds up enough if you can actually put barricades on all 3 locations, you know, because I feel initially you got to choose one, but then you eventually you can get enough to get all of this stuff. If the siege goes on long enough, you can like, if you can have like turtle builds and stuff. I don't know. Also, a quick shout out to the unit cards. I don't think I've seen the unit cards before. Look how cool they look. They look, I don't know, they look kind of different art style to the older ones. So I can't really describe it, but yeah, they look cool, interesting, very interesting. Suggestion for the head-to-head streams to speed things up. Oh yeah, we'll talk about that later on, Nixler. I'm hesitant. I'd really like to see the whole battle from start to finish. You mean
fly?
Not the way that. Map wide. What? This is a key building. Map wide. Can target inside a fort. Hit points generate. Oh, right. Okay. So you get 15% extra melee defense and leadership if your hit points are greater than 25% and you're inside the fort. Okay. So that's pretty cool. Especially if you've got high melee defense units. That's interesting. So that obviously favors high melee defense and low leadership units. So because basically if you've got like 40 leadership, that puts up to 50, you know, or 60 to 70 or whatever, you know, I guess. You fight to the death. But yeah, if you've got like 10 melee defense, then it puts up to 50, like 11 or something. But if you've got like 80 melee defense, it puts it up to like 90. So that's pretty cool. There's a new blog about it. So yeah, I'm gonna finish just quickly going through my initial impressions, Dominic. Then I'm gonna read the Siege blog, and then I'll probably come back to the video again.
Building and victory points.
Generates victory tickets for the owning alliance. Oh yeah, so the victory point is the old city square. Well, it's still the same, I guess. It's the plaza, yeah. And I guess there's only one victory point, or is there now multiple victory points? Looks like there's only one. Wait up. Yeah, it looks like there's only one victory point. Yin and Yang markers on each card. Yeah. So you got the black and white Yin and Yang markers. I noticed the sound design for the Terracotta Sentinels is actually kind of starting to catch on to me, because you can hear that like crumbling masonry sound whenever they're nearby. It's kind of cool, pretty atmospheric. Yeah, some of these unit cards look really cool. The like dragon infantry, whatever they are.
These key points have pre-designated build locations for construction.
So what's that one? Wait, no, that's the supply generating point, isn't it?
And victory points. These key points have...
So minor point supply. So is there major and minor supply points?
We'll need a new currency introduced in Warhammer 3. Supplies.
There's a minor supply point in the corner there, and there's one over there.
Supplies, and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement. Minor supply.
Minor supply point, okay. Yeah.
Key building and victory points. These key points have
Minor supplies, yeah. So yeah, you got the barricade and the
designated build locations for construction.
So it's the same, exactly the same as in the other battle. You got your 3 different types of towers, walls, barricades that do different stuff.
Once a barricade or tower is constructed,
I think it said as well that you can. I think you used to be able to build like obelisks or something. You know, you can build like an obelisk or whatever that will give you an AOE buff in a certain area. I noticed it specifically said that attackers can't build towers and barricades. I wonder if they still have those buffing obelisks in the game. If the attackers can build those.
Dismantled for a refund of supplies.
Yeah. So perhaps you could get to a situation where perhaps you can get into a situation where the attackers can kind of come in, take over a certain part of the city and set up their own defensive situation within the actual siege. So that'd be interesting. You know, like I wonder if they'll also give us potential for that sort of street by street warfare, you know, where both sides are setting up, you know, in defensive areas, and then there's a no, like just say in this bit of map we see here, maybe the defenders up on this platform, they got some archers down there or whatever. This part in the middle here might be a no man's land, and then the attackers have got like a line of archers back in this area, and they're kind of like plinking at each other, with this middle part being like a death zone that the infantry can't get across for a while. There's a bit of a stalemate here until they eventually get through or whatever. You know, it'd be interesting if that sort of stuff plays out that way. I don't know.
Built elsewhere, but keep in mind, construction and dismantling is a lengthy process. Barricades and towers are destroyed if their health reaches 0, or if the supply...
Bit of a close-up of the I forget the name of it now, the demon, the half mechanical demon thing. I was just having a thought the other day, because I feel like this color scheme with these pastel colors is very much Slanesh, and that Zeech should be more like electric blue and like yellows and oranges and stuff like that. But maybe that's because my aesthetic's really old. Maybe I mean that's how it was back in the 90s, you know, like 30 years ago. But has that sort of changed over time? Because I noticed like the new Age of Sigmar Slaneshi stuff, it's not really like that. It's more like dark purples and gold, and dark purple and gold edges and stuff like that. So it's almost like the Slanesh stuff now is like more like the old 90s Zeech stuff, but with purple instead of blue. And the Zeech stuff is now the like kind of light blues and purples and pinks in pastel colors that Slanesh used to be. I mean, the flamers and stuff always used to be like kind of like that, but yeah, I don't know.
Are destroyed if their health reaches 0, or if the supply, building, or victory point they're attached to is taken by the attackers.
Do you think this would change the wall settlement building chain in the game? Yeah, interesting when to breed, maybe. Quite, yeah, wouldn't be surprised. I like how they're defending this dingy little outpost instead of on top of the Great Bastion right behind them. Yeah, well, I think this is meant to be like a gatehouse or something like that, isn't it?
If this occurs, your supplies are not refunded. It's worth noting that whilst attackers can capture points, they cannot build barricades or...
This is similar to the large Troy sieges, as you have barricades. Yeah, well, all this stuff is like stuff that they've already included in other games. I think that's kind of like the whole thing with... I think that's sort of like the whole thing with Warhammer, is that they've kind of like a lot of stuff that they already had developed for other previous games or even current games. Like they've got the technology to do it. They just didn't kind of have the time to put it in. Like there's just so much stuff, so many factions, so many mechanics, so many things to build for Warhammer that they just kind of made a placeholder sieges. They're just like, yep, we'll just put it in basic sieges for now. Once we've done all this other shit, we'll come back and do the sieges. So it's like, I think they always had the technology to do the stuff. They've used it in previous games that used it in Three Kingdoms. It was just a matter of getting around to implementing some proper siege mechanics in the actual game, Warhammer. So
towers. Rather than a messy brawl in the streets, Warhammer 3's sieges are about defenders controlling the flow of battle, using a settlement's architecture to plan and execute layered fallbacks and hardpoints, where they can chip away at an attacker's
yeah, I'm seeing
forces.
like heaps of choke points, which is cool.
Settlements have become multi-leveled with bridges and upper tiers that cross over streets, giving ranged units more opportunities to shine.
How cool like Middenheim be like, you know, one of the Empire cities. I'd love to see an Empire City version of this.
Many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary wall.
Yeah, this dockable thing, like, do they just mean like
many of these bridges
did anything change?
and overlooks are dockable like the
No. None of the stats changed then, did they? So when they said dockable, I assume they just meant like dockable as in new units, just kind of click on there. But it seemed to be making out like there's a section of buffs that you get from there. I assume it's like missile resistance that you get, and maybe like bonuses to plus maybe range damage or something.
Many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls.
So it says dockable, and then you can hear that noise where they lock onto this area. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just this. I don't know. It sounded like they're saying there's buffs that you get.
Giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit.
Yeah, all the buffs and benefits of any other docked units. I didn't even know buffed units had fucking docked units had buffs and benefits. What the fuck? But yeah, that's interesting to know. I assume it's like missile defense. I don't know. It'd be good if docked units had melee defense. Or something, so that, you know, well, yeah, maybe, I wonder if, yeah, no, the way they said the same as any other docked units, I assume that means that there is already buffs for docked units in the game at the moment, and that's going to give them the same thing.
In sieges, both the attack.
When I look at this as well, I wonder if, like, when I look at this, I wonder, like, how the AI actually is going to work with this, like, whether that's actually going to, like if there's some melee infantry attacking this barricade, like, are these guys going to actually be able to effectively shoot them, or is the way that this unit's laid out or docked with the object actually going to get in the way of their own shooting? You know, because it's like that with archers on the walls and stuff like that. When you put your guns on the wall or whatever, half of your guns can't even shoot anyway, you know, unless you spread them right out. You know, if you have like 5 ranks deep on walls or whatever, half of your guns can't even shoot anyway. That's a totally different topic, but it's like, it'd be cool if you could get like rolling fire or something with your guns, because your front rank of guns can shoot down from the crenellations, right, from sieges, but how they currently work is they all just stand there statically, only the front row kind of flies sporadically, the rest of the guys do nothing. So it'd be cool if they just rolled through and just were like, you know, so you got your same rate of fire. Yeah, we're going to watch the blog post and I'll just quickly go through the rest of this.
Any other docked unit. In sieges, both the attacker and defender's role are tactically more challenging and more rewarding. Settlement.
Oh, check out the what's going on with that? Is that the health bar for the gate? It's got like red, white, blue, and brown. Like, wow, what's going on with what are these things?
In Warhammer 3 have been designed with more open areas and strategic avenues to hide troops in. The avenues are the perfect ambush spot, making flanking and devastating charges a more viable tactical strategy.
Yeah, it says like ambush spot, but aren't your units going to be clearly visible to your opponent? Unless, are you going to get, or maybe there's going to be really cool like line of sight? Is there going to be like wicked line of sight in this towns, and if you can't see their units hiding behind a building, like they'll be invisible? That'd be pretty cool.
In overview, Warhammer 3's sieges offer a diverse array of fresh settlements to overcome and protect. They allow defenders to prepare for a new kind of battle occurring after the attackers have taken the primary walls. How beautiful does Cathay look?
Like, just the art.
Fortifying defensive fallback positions with barricades, towers, and traps.
Just the artwork of Cathay is like so beautiful.
Invaders. They
It's
allow
amazing.
for a multi-layered experience where units can be docked to overlooks and walls within the settlement itself, and encourages real-time reorganizing of defenses
for anyone who
to
is
adapt to an ever-changing battle. All of these features, coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges packed with highs, lows, and phenomenal visuals. Wei Jin has fallen, but the forces of Tzeentch will struggle to reach the celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor is safe for now. Even
So, wait up. So with layered sieges, is it saying that, like, we do this siege, and then after you do this siege, you got to do another siege? Like a separate map? Or is it just saying, like, I mean, I thought with layered sieges, it meant, like, in the one map, there's just, like, get through the inner, outer walls, then you got to go through the inner walls or whatever. Is it actually saying, like, you go, like, there's, like, two sieges linked together?
safe for now. The celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor forces of Tzeentch will struggle to reach.
I don't know. Let's check out this blog post anyway before we go on.
City above.
We'll check out that strange. We'll check out that strange fart sound in a moment.
His daughter barely managed to escape with her life.
Yeah, Medieval 2, the tiers were all in the one. Were all in the one. All in the one thing, right?
Sieging a settlement should not be an easy undertaking. Total War Warhammer 3 has reworked how sieges work.
What am I trying to do here?
Ways of attacking as
We
well as
want to, like,
defending.
make this a
Every
bit bigger,
inch taken
maybe?
will cost dearly. Settlement maps are now
What's
larger.
that? How about
We've
that?
introduced more variety of maps than in previous games. With the fall of the Turtle Gate,
Yeah.
Miao Ying moves her army from
Thrones
the
of Britannia style
Gate
siege
to
maps, yeah, for sure.
Wei Jin in an
Alright,
attempt
we'll,
to bolster the city's
well, let's-
defenses
wait a
and
minute.
drive Tzeentch out of Cathay.
Let's turn this down a bit more.
Capital of the Celestial Dragon Empire is a three-walled fortress.
Okay, welcome back to CastleTotalWar.com. After months of grueling sieges of our gates, we're offering a peace trade deal. You receive information on sieges, and we'll receive, hopefully, your excitement and happiness. Yeah, actually, that was the minor sieges. We didn't cover any minor sieges in that video. Be interesting to see what it says in the blog post.
Never rest easy.
Yeah, find all the details of how we're upgrading and modifying sieges, alongside plans for minor settlement battles, and how it impacts some of the most important sieges there are. The massive attacks from the Chaos Wastes on the Great Bastion of Cathay. Plus a couple of screenshots of the layouts of Wei Jin and Nangar, two Cathayan cities you'll be getting intimately familiar with in your campaigns. These are pre-release shots from an aerial angle. Sure. The alterations to sieges. Can you? Oh wait, I didn't put that in the right spot, did I?
It's time to fall back to our secondary positions within the city. Our defense now lies with our barricades, traps, and towers. We'll need a new currency introduced.
Need to make this a bit smaller.
Supplies. We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies.
About there.
During combat by holding locations.
I don't know if I can. It's still a bit
settlement.
too big, but that's fine.
Victory points. These key points
Sieges
have
come in two major components, both of which are vital to understand to see just how much things have changed.
It can be dismantled for a refund of supplies and rebuilt.
First, I'll just kind of read through first, and then I'll come back and discuss more again. The first is the map design, the philosophy of that, and the variety we're introducing through them. There's now a much wider selection of potential siege maps, each assigned to a settlement based on their defaults, faction, culture. Okay, so much wider of potential siege maps. So currently we've got maybe like 3 different siege maps for each faction, roughly. I don't know, it probably varies depending on what race you are. So I don't know, much like too muches, much wider a potential siege map. What does that mean? Like instead of like 3 siege maps per race, we've got like 12 siege maps per race, whatever. I assume by much it means at least double. So let's say just the 6. There's 6, maybe there's 6 maps for each race now. If there's 6 very different maps for each race that are all very different with different tactical problems, then I'd say that would be yeah, amazing. Like, yeah, I think six, like, because let's think there's at the moment there's like 2 or 3 different maps for each race, and they're not like not including the unique ones. I think some cities have unique maps, but yeah, not including the unique ones. There's like only like 2 or 3 different maps, and they're not like, often they're not that tactically different from each other anyway. Whereas these ones potentially will have much more gamey differences. So yeah, so that's good. That's really good. And that's for every race. So every race is going to have, like, instead of 2 to 3, they're going to have like 6 or more different maps now, I guess. Each assigned to a settlement based on their default faction's culture. Right, so there's still, so game 3 is going to be the same as game 2, where the settlement won't change when a new race takes it over. They'll just put their banners on it, whatever. So an orc settlement's going to have orc defenses, orc battlements, orc towers, and all that kind of stuff. You just like hang your banners on it if you take it over. You know, if you've got high elf lands, they're still going to stay high elf, same as in Warhammer 2. Not like in Warhammer 1, where the actual walls and everything would change. Cathayan dwarves build highly defensive. Yeah, Cathayan dwarves build highly defensive fortresses set into the sides of mountains, where their firepower can be exploited to the fullest. Yeah, that'll be really cool to see dwarves with proper Karak type sieges. Kislev has long withstood chaos with tight streets and hardy. Actually, that'd be really cool if dwarf sieges had a roof on them. So when you first attack them, you attack like just a wall of a mountain with like guns and shit poking out of it. And if you get through the outer wall, then you're inside like dark caverns and stuff. That'd be pretty cool. I don't necessarily think that's how it'll be, but yeah. With their firepower can be exploited to the fullest. Meanwhile, Kislev has long withstood chaos with tight streets and hardy men and women who will fight tooth and claw. Oh, that's cool. It'll be like seeing like the fall of Prague and stuff like that, but like replayed in game with chaos like wrecking Kislev, and Kislev fighting tooth and nail in their corrupted and chaos bombed out streets and stuff. Races like Skaven and Greenskins have more ramshackle fortresses that are no less deadly, which themselves pale in comparison to the weirdness of the strongholds dedicated to each chaos god. Yeah. I'm so pumped for chaos. It's going to be so awesome. The weirdness of the strongholds dedicated to each chaos god on the outskirts of the realm of chaos. I wonder if, does that mean there's just like the one stronghold dedicated to each chaos god on the outskirts of the realm of chaos, and that's just those siege battles that we've already seen, those special siege battles, like there's just like one of each? Or does that mean like all of, like there's multiple fortresses dedicated to chaos on the outside or something? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure this is each time you enter a siege, know which side you're on. The combination of your army, the enemy, and the layout of the settlement is going to make it a unique experience across your many hours of play. We've deliberately paced the layouts of different settlements to avoid repeats between adjacent regions. Okay, so that's cool. So there's going to be, yeah, so just say we've got our 6 different maps or whatever, they're going to like kind of alternate between the 6 different types, so that if you're attacking into an enemy's, like, say an enemy's got like 20 settlements and you're attacking into it, you know, every settlement you take is going to be a different siege map. They're going to like alternate them, so you won't get the same one after another. Fighting 2 identical sieges back to back will be a thing of the past. Excellent. Sounds good. Even factions that share layouts have different dressings that can impact great gameplay as well as looks. Oh, okay, interesting. So they're saying that they did actually do a bit of a shortcut and just reuse the same layouts for different races, just with a different palette. So just say you've got like, you know, like just say they said Cathayan dwarves, right, are going to be similar, right? So just say you've got like that exact map we saw. The dwarves will potentially have the exact same map, but like a dwarf version. So the bridges will be dwarf bridges, the towers will be dwarf towers, the plaza will be dwarf plaza, but it'll be like the exact same layout, but dwarf version. So that's cool. So maybe saved a bit of time, or I guess there's only a limited number of like different like clever interactive designs you can do for sieges. So they've like figured out a cool dynamic siege layout, and then they've reused that same layout for a few different races, but they put the different stuff. And they said that you know, even factions that share the same layout or the same map but just with different look to it have different dressings that can impact gameplay as well as looks. So so perhaps like a dwarf tower rather than a you know, Cathay tower will actually have a different mechanical effect, and you know, the battle will play out slightly different. So you know, so like attacking the same map as Cathay might be really easy, whereas attacking the same map as a dwarf version might be harder or whatever. So that's interesting.
attacker and defender's role are tactically more.
These maps themselves designed significantly differently from what you may have been used to from Warhammer 2. Sorry for everyone who's put comments in that I haven't got to get to. I'm still trying to get through the, you know, you guys are like four hours ahead of me, so I just got to like, you know, absorb all this stuff first, and then you know, I'll come back and discuss a bit more. These maps have been designed significantly differently from what you've been used to. As well as capture points and buildable towers and barricades, which we'll get into below. We've upgraded our tools, AI, and design to make for much better maps. Yeah, upgrading the AI. I think somebody mentioned that before. Like, there seems like so much more opportunity for the AI to derp out because there's like 10 million different things going on in the sieges now, instead of just like, you know, the original like easy version of sieges that they put in as a placeholder to start was mainly designed so that they didn't have to worry about upgrading the AI to deal with the complex siege stuff, I think. And now they've made the sieges like way more complicated. So, you know, they would have had to have done some massive work on AI, and like. I guess that's another first impression that I've got about this. You know, a lot of people say, like, and myself included, that if Warhammer 3 is basically not even an upgrade at all from Warhammer 2, if Warhammer 3 is just exactly the same as Warhammer 2, but just with some more races and a bigger map, I'd be completely happy with that. And a lot of people say that as well, and I would be, but I'd be like way more happy if Warhammer 3 brings in like heaps of awesome extra stuff. So I think even just this siege rework by itself would just, I can see how it's going to just completely change the flavor of your campaigns. You know, sieges are going to be a lot more, well, if it works. I got to see it implemented, obviously, but if it works as it's intended to, which I assume it will eventually. They might need to fix it a bit if it's a bit derpy at release or whatever, you know. Then yeah, this will totally change your campaigns. You know, this will make your campaigns heaps better, I think. It looks like just the way that, like, whether or not you like this whole thing or not, I can see there's a part of me that sort of like thinks that maybe it's a bit too gamey or something like that. But whether or not you like that, whether you like the general concept of it or not, you know, if you've played with the same sort of stuff in Attila and Three Kingdoms and stuff, and you're kind of used to it and you like that sort of stuff, then you're going to be happy. If you haven't, you won't be or whatever. But I think regardless of which side you're on, the siege maps are going to be so much bigger now, and there's going to be so much more stuff going on. The battles could be longer, you know, there could be more like layers to the sieges and stuff. So I don't know, that if it's fun and you feel a lot of player agency and that you can affect the outcome a lot with what you do, then I think that's going to be more enjoyable. You can always auto resolve them, you know, if you don't like it. One significant area is height variation, which much larger differences between elevation levels throughout the map being far more common than before. There's also dockable terrain areas within settlements, depending on the layout, giving range units more use inside the walls. These advancements, I don't know. I still don't know what they're talking about with the buffs to dockable terrain. I don't. Does anyone know? At most of them out, if anyone knows what these dockable buffs are. Like, it seems like there's buffs that you get when you dock units, and I assume from the way they've said it, that's something that's already in game too, but I don't know what those dockable unit buffs actually are. So I'd be interested to. They seem to think they're really good. I haven't noticed that my docked archers on walls do like ridiculously high damage, but I mean, they probably do. I just probably haven't noticed. But yeah, it's when you put units on walls, they dock. And apparently they get buffed as well. Leadership buffs. I know some units include leadership buffs from on a wall or defending catch points. Right, yeah, that makes sense, Dash. Yeah, the leadership buff thing, yeah, that would probably be pretty on point. With this variation in more open areas, which allows for more diversity. Yeah, it seems like there's some open plazas where you can have big like infantry clashes, and then there's also this little like side alleys and stuff where you can sneak around and, you know, get in the side of things. Heaps of places where you can heaps of choke points, you know. So I think like tanky defensive infantry with archers and stuff, you know, like Cathay. Basically Cathay is going to love sieges, but, you know, they just block all the streets with their defensive infantry and then just blow the shit out of anything that's coming in. I wonder how they're going to design settlements that are like, you know, like a Norska settlement where they have like crap archery and stuff. Like, I wonder how they're going to design a Norska settlement to be good for Norska, you know, like, because I feel like if you go into a Norska settlement, like, Norska's going to be better off if they just like sally out and fight on the plains, you know, because they're going to get screwed with choke points and stuff. and missile superiority. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're attacking a Noska, if you're attacking a siege that's being held by Noska, then, you know, you'll be better off than they will be, you know. Can't wait for dwarf defenses. Yeah, well, it sounds like they're going to reuse all the Cathay maps for dwarves and vice versa. So the Cathay maps and the dwarf maps might be all the same, but they'll be, you know, they'll look different, but they'll have the same layout, perhaps. Seemed to be what they were saying. Fight no longer starts and ends at the outer wall, of which many settlements now have several, making for 2 or 3 angles of fight no longer starts and ends at the outer wall, of which many settlements now have several. How can you have several outer walls? Like, isn't the outer wall the one wall that's on the outside? Oh, I mean outer wall as in outer wall. They have many walls, as in they might have an outer wall, an inner wall, a middle wall. Right, that makes sense. Sorry, don't know why I was confusing myself there. Making for 2 or 3 approach angles for attackers. Okay, so yeah, some people were saying about 360 sieges. So there's like, well, so far it looks like it's not 360 sieges, at least not for this settlement that we looked at just now. Only you can only attack from one side, but they're saying that there's more than one angle of approach. So, you know, like currently there might be 1, 2 or 3 gates, but it doesn't really make that much difference most of the time, like which one you attack by. It'd be interesting to see if they actually make those tactical decisions about which gate to attack, like a lot more important. Seems much more interesting, realistic prospect of steadily defending, capturing areas. Yeah, I can dig that. It's like steadily taking over capture points and makes defensive siege weapons far more promising prospect, be they be firing from high ground inside the settlement or defending the streets themselves with clever placement. Yeah, I wonder how cannons are going to go when they're placed on those high settlements. So yeah, so actually, have we seen siege weapons on the walls? So there's like these high areas in the settlement where you can put your siege weapons. I guess you still can't put them on the actual walls though. I'm going to try and have a look at the map a bit more and see if, like, so can we see any of the raised settlement areas? Yeah, so there's a raised settlement there. See, so that, yeah, so this area here is raised, and that's where you would put your artillery sort of thing. So your artillery can shoot out over here. So here you can see the different, like there's, so there's this attack point here, this attack point here, and this attack point here. I think that's actually pretty cool. Like, even though it's not 360, it's 180, and like this one here you can see is quite close to getting up to here and whatever, or coming in this direction. Like, attacking from this gate is a very different proposition from attacking to this main gate, you know. So this main gate looks like you go underneath all these bridges and everything, and everyone's just raining down death and destruction on you constantly until you get to here. So there's like a direct, you can go direct route to the center, but you're going to get shot down from higher ground by everything along the way. Whereas these side ones, maybe they're more like infantry battle focused. That's interesting. Second big upgrade, introducing supplies, buildable structures. From the survival battles mode. Well, it's the same system, basic understanding. Use is completely different. Sieges now feature several capturable locations rather than one, and each provides supplies per second, as well as governs a few buildable locations. If they're lost, their attached buildings are destroyed. 2 varieties, either towers or barricades. Okay, so this is an interesting thing as well. Like, it's kind of a weird way of implementing it in a way, but so basically, when you hold the capture points, you get supplies per second. So I assume that when you set up a new, when you set up your siege points, you're going to put like a unit on each one of these. So there's a supply position there and a supply position here, and they're going to be both giving you supplies per second. So you're going to put a unit on there. But the thing with that is that it sort of like gives the advantage to the defender. Like the longer the defender waits, the better, the more supply that they get, you know. So it's sort of the opposite way to the way sieges actually work in real life. Like, really, like the people on the outside of the wall have the advantage. As long as they've cut off the supply lines, they can just wait there until these guys run out of food and supplies, and eventually they'll surrender. Whereas in this, like, tactical part of the siege, the people who are behind the walls, they can just wait and get more and more and more supplies over time. Whereas, so the longer that you wait to attack the walls, the more supplies that they're going to get. So it's sort of like a weird time pressure on the attacker to actually attack faster. So I guess I don't know how it'll actually play out, but yeah. Yeah, I'll come back to this map because I reckon there's going to be a lot to unpack about what's going on in this map. Interesting how this tower is not being manned. I guess the arc of fire doesn't affect anything maybe there. I wonder if these towers are more powerful as well. I wonder if you can upgrade the towers. Oh, so so I wonder if these wall towers, I assume, are just always there, but there's other towers you can build inside the settlement as well. That was the idea I got of it. I wonder if these wall towers are connected to the control points as well, or not. Like if you can take a control point to disable the wall towers, or if the wall towers just have their own separate system. My issue with the walls is that they provide no range bonus to deployed range units. Well, yeah, that's the thing, Ethan Gates. They said something about dockable bonuses, dockable buffs. I wonder if they actually do get some sort of buffs. So we can no longer use mages forever to win sieges alone. Well, maybe. Hopefully that's the sort of stuff that will change the gameplay. What are the green icons? I know it's for siege, but I can't see the unit types. Yeah, I don't know what the unit types are. So I mean, I assume that's melee cavalry. That's like monstrous something or other. That's like maybe melee infantry, or yeah, don't know. Big idea is that your initial defense will be focused on the walls. When these fall, your enemy's combination of artillery, flyers, brute strength. Some units can now attack walls directly as they can gates. Oh, that's interesting. I think the Gorgon, is it, or maybe Taurox, has some sort of like wall attacking ability. I wonder if that's what they're going to give to, say, some units can now attack walls directly as they can gates. Also the Warp Grinders, I think for Skaven can attack walls. So I wonder if they're going to give more units that, like Dwarf Miners, I guess would be an obvious one, stuff like that. You can retreat into the city and create a custom-made secondary line with barricades, towers, firing platforms, monuments, where you want them. Yeah, monuments. It says specifically attackers can't build towers and barricades. It didn't say anything about monuments. So I wonder if both sides can build monuments. So maybe like if Tzeentch attacks in through this gate, they take this supply point here, and I can't actually see any of the tower locations. I think that might be a location, that little square there, maybe it might be a location. That one there. Maybe that one is, I'm not sure. But yeah, I wonder if they take that supply and they start ticking up supply lines, supplies, if they can then build a monument that'll give them like buffs to melee attack or defense or whatever within an aura. Less trees near, yeah, well, in this map there doesn't seem to be any trees anywhere near the walls. But yeah, this is a specific map. I'm guessing depending on what faction you were playing and stuff, it'd be different. Where you want them. This allows you to create your own battle lines, depending on your playstyle and specifics of that battle. Each point can be upgraded or downgraded as you wish, for the relative cost of the building, making you able to shift your strategy on the fly. Naturally, all this system is shared with survival battles. The balancing is done differently to ensure good gameplay. Yeah, and I assume that'll take some tweaking and stuff in the early time of when the game comes out as well. Each settlement also has stockpiled supplies for you to begin the battle with. In campaign, this is determined by various factors, buildings and level of settlement being the most notable. So this is what somebody said before about what happens when you build walls. So when you build walls in the settlement, I assume it'll be the same as it is now, that you'll get more troops in your garrison and stuff like that. And possibly the outer wall towers will be upgraded. It's not quite clear whether the outer wall towers are upgradable with the supply section or not. I kind of got the impression that the supplies only applies to stuff that you build inside the walls, and the outer walls are still like the default walls of the city, and you can't change that. But yeah, I know maybe we'll find some more information about that. But yeah, so I assume if you like build walls in a settlement, that'll upgrade your default outer walls and give you your more garrison and stuff like that. But it also this sounds like that's the type of thing that might give you additional stockpile at the start for your internal stuff, as well as scaling into late game for more major double full stack encounters that occur at that stage. This allows you to construct a few important towers and barricades to begin with, already garrisoning them with troops or using them as tactical choke points. In general, the new maps are much larger with many potential points of entry for your foe. So all these additional resources are going to be needed to keep things in check. Yeah, I can see they're a lot bigger, and I can see already that it's going to give me that vibe. Like, even though they're not 360 settlements, like the 180 settlement thing will give me that vibe of like attacking a settlement in like what do you call it, in Norska, sorry, in Attila or Rome 2 or something like that, maybe. I wonder if there will be 360 sieges as well, because it's just maybe this sort of defensive, maybe this is just the one type of map that we've seen, you know what I mean? Hey Lixie, how you going, man? Maybe this is just one type of map that we've seen. Like, it makes sense that a bastion map is not going to be 360, only one side can actually attack it. And it makes sense, like, if it's a Karak, a Dwarven Karak, it's going to be like a wall, so there's only going to be one side you can attack from. But I mean, minor settlement battles, I would very much assume that you should be able to attack from 360, you know? So, yeah, so the people who are worried about not being 360, I don't think we've seen enough to rule that out. I think we may very well see some 360 maps. As your opponent pushes in, you need to make some decisions about which supply points and districts they control are worth defending. Attackers cannot construct buildings or use supplies, nor do the supply locations provide victory points, but denying them allows for more ways to move through your settlement. Dismantling defenses and moving them to a new location to fight. Secure and fight in battle anew is a vital strategy against overwhelming odds that are often levied out of siege settlement. Yeah, I wonder how this is actually going to play out. I think that, you know, they're going to have to balance the amount of supply points you get versus the time cost of building and reducing the defenses to get this to the right balance, so it actually feels right, like dynamic, like they say, but not like too stupidly gamey where you can just like pop up towers and pull them down and pop them up somewhere else, you know, which doesn't feel very, you know, good. 360 minus settlements, I bet. Lisa, yeah, I think so. Kind of like you can still have a back that you can retreat to. Yeah, maybe. There are also 2 special capture points, 1 key building, 1 victory location. Oh, so there's only ever 1 key building and 1 victory location. Interesting. Key building is usually closest to the center of the settlement and provides a defensive buff if it is under control of the siege. Previously, there were defensive bonuses that weren't always clear, so we've cleaned that up with this single clear benefit. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know what the buffs were in sieges exactly. I'd heard people talk about them, but I never really knew what they were. Final victory point is also still there, and usually farthest from the gates. It will mark either the glorious taking of a supposedly impenetrable fortress or the immovable object of your defensive forces proving their worth. Victory tickets are provided by capturing both of these, capture points. Okay. Oh, is this one a minor settlement? This one looks like a minor settlement. Look how much smaller it is and more simple it is. This is pretty cool. I like the smaller scale of this. It almost feels like a little like Roman fort or something. It's obviously a town because it's got buildings inside it, but you know what I mean? Like the small like fort where you can almost see from one side to the other. This is like looks about the same size as the current sieges, maybe a little bit smaller. Yeah, probably this looks a little bit smaller than the current sieges, but yeah, this looks like a minor settlement. That's cool. Fuck, I'm so excited. I'm so much more excited about this than I was about all this roster reveals and stuff for Cathay. Like, don't get me wrong, Cathay looks beautiful and amazing, but this siege rework, this is the stuff that I'm really excited about, and Chaos, obviously. But yeah, I'm super excited about this. It's amazing. There are cooldowns on buildings and taking it. Yeah, I know there's. I'm saying like the benefit, like the way it'll actually play out will sort of be depend on that specific balancing of how they tweak the build times and the resource management and stuff like that. So it's like with a lot of things, you know, like all these ideas sound great, but the way it actually plays out in battles, it could, you know, there could be a very big variety of how this actually plays out. You know what I mean? Yeah, I think I just saw some comments of Clock Monkey. I think was saying some stuff like it sounded like he thought that the sieges are going to go on too long. Was that kind of the gist that you were giving? giving clockwork is going to go on too long, be too complicated, stuff like that. Yeah, so again, that's like, I think that's the sort of thing that they'll have to fix with balance. But I think that's the kind of thing that they can tweak. They can tweak a lot after they get the initial basic thing in, get the AI like understanding how to move through and control these things. I could like imagine the colossal work of the AI. I wouldn't be surprised if this is the whole reason why Warhammer 3 got delayed, because the AI, trying to get the AI to understand how to deal with all this stuff, like how this is so ambitious, you know, like this is so ambitious. I'm pretty like impressed. I'm kind of proud is the right word. I'm kind of proud of CA for taking this on, like, you know, like regardless of whether you like it, regardless of whether you think that it's going to be good or you don't like this gamey approach to sieges or whatever, like you've got to like just look at this and think, shit, this is a lot of work. Like they didn't just, you know, they could have just gone the easy route. They could have just changed some shit that was easy to change and sort of addressed the complaints without really, you know, whereas they've actually gone to a lot of trouble to, like, you know, look at all the other games, see what they can bring in, and yeah, and I feel like yeah, this looks like it would be hard to run. I wonder if we'll see any gameplay. I wonder if we'll see any actual battle gameplay for sieges like anytime soon. If we don't see any actual siege gameplay like live with players actually playing it for like a long time, then I feel like that's probably why. Did I make the typo siege rework? No, I didn't even. I forgot about that entirely. I was too excited to like watch the. I didn't even like think about what I wrote in here. I just like popped that in as a placeholder while I was doing the thumbnail. Siege rework reaction and discussion. Okay, I've spelt that right. I had no idea the patch was dropping today. So this is just an impromptu reaction and discussion. Yeah, fuck it. Let me know if I screwed up anything else with the stream description and stuff. I literally just smacked it in there like 5 minutes before I started. Thanks a lot, M Dunn. I appreciate you. It's a huge change. Imagine how much work it's going to be for Mortal Empires. Yeah, it's like hats off to CA. This looks like you know, I mean, like, you know, the jury's still out on whether it actually works, whether it's actually any fun, whether, you know, we hate it or whatever, but you can't say that it was lazy, you know what I mean? Like they've definitely put some work into this stuff, considering this is not, well, considering this didn't need to be content for Warhammer 3, like, you know what I mean, you could have sold it without any of this stuff, but and I feel like this is really this is really for us, I feel like, as well, you know, like a lot of the stuff that's been coming out with the videos lately about Cathay and everything, people have been some YouTubers been complaining that it's sort of style over substance stuff. It's like more like faction spotlights showing, oh, Cathay are really cool, you know, but with no real like meat of like how it's going to play out, the like stats or anything like that we as like kind of experienced players will like, you know. But whereas this, I feel like this is like for us, you know, like this is for the people that have been playing Warhammer 1 and 2 and have put up with the, like, you know, half-assed sieges all this time and whatever, you know. But yeah, anyway, let's quickly get through the rest of this, and then I might go back and have a look at the video with this new knowledge that we've got. We've also improved the AI, not only to handle these new elements, but also to provide more of a challenge whether you're attacking or defending. Flyers and fast-moving units will now prioritize useful actions like preventing sallied-out cavalry from attacking ranged or siege units. Oh, that's good. AI also has a great understanding of how different areas of the map are under threat. That's interesting. Like, I don't mean to like cause a ruckus by saying MOBA again, but I'm sure you guys can understand what I mean when I say that these new like the survival maps and also these new settlement maps, they have a bit more of a MOBA type feel to them, like just with like controlling certain points, going down different lanes to get to the center and stuff like that, you know. I'm not trying to like, I don't know, I'm not trying to start shit about it being MOBA or anything, but yeah, I'm just saying, like, it'd be interesting to see if the AI can, I don't know, that's just a bit of a side, yeah, anyway, yeah, if the AI can actually deal with that really well and figure out really good strategies. I doubt it's gonna be that crazy. If it can just not derp out a lot, then that'll be the main thing that we're looking for. Makes it more reactive and capable of fighting against diverse enemies. Many improvements are taken from Three Kingdoms and Troy, bringing Warhammer Trilogy right up to the modern day in terms of best design Total War titles. Yeah, nice. James Martin of Survival Battle fame has been taking us through everything so far. Here's his direct take on the AI changes. We started with the 3K AI as it provided us with a good base to work from. The 3K settlement AI had been very well received and worked well for our new settlement layouts. Actually, that's a good point. Anyone who plays a lot of Three Kingdoms, if you can comment, maybe you can comment about like what you think of the Three Kingdom AI. Like, you know, basically react to this statement. Has the Three Kingdom AI been really well received? What do you think about it? You know, that kind of stuff. I haven't played enough Three Kingdoms to know. I'll see you, Lixie. Sorry, man, I didn't get to chat much. I was still just trying to absorb all this information. But yeah, really appreciate you dropping by, man. I've been thinking about playing some head-to-head Warhammer. If you ever, I don't know if you're just 100% a D&D now and you don't want to do any Warhammer stuff anymore, but we'll hit you up on Discord and chat about it anyway. From here, we put a lot of work into how we author our Siege AI graph. Oh, Siege AI graph. I don't know what that means. That's some technical developer stuff. From there, we put a lot of work into how we author our Siege AI graph to make it easier to design and more flexible to work with, which has also improved the pathfinding within settlements. Okay, that's good. With the introduction of the districts concept via capture locations and supply points, the AI can now separate and manage large parts of the settlement map and say this area over that area. This district is more threatened than that one. They can then prioritize or fall back if one is overtaken by the attacker. For the settlement battles, they also know how to build towers and barricades, which is something they don't have to do in survival battles. Okay, so yeah, this whole... This comes down to this ambition thing again, and like hats off to CA, like again, like the ambition of like trying to create an actually good AI, a good and complex AI is great. But you know, when I see that, the first thing I think of is like, I get like fast units, maybe cavalry. I can use that to like figure out where the border is between two different districts, like move the cavalry back and forth over the border, and the AI will like fucking not be able to figure out which place, you know, like I just straight away think of how I can exploit that and just screw up the AI. I wonder if they'll actually, you know, I wonder if it'll actually work, or if they'll end up being like, oh, we made all this, we spent like a year working on this awesome AI, but then because it was so complicated, there was so many different ways to exploit it, we ended up making it that the AI just goes to the town center and defends to death there because that's easier, you know. So yeah, I hope that this like I feel like smart AI, you know, if it is actually really good, can really be the centerpiece of or you know, not necessarily smart AI, but just good AI, you know, can really be the centerpiece of the thing. Like one of the backlash, or not backlash, but like thing that some people have been getting really annoyed about lately, especially if you play Skaven or Lithanar a lot, is that the AI at the moment is derped up for defending ambush battles. The AI, if you ambush the AI will just like sit there and let you shoot them to death. Basically, they don't do anything. And you know, the first couple of times that happens, you're like, yeah, cool, I'm gonna kill them all, I'm not gonna take any damage, it's great. But then after a while, you're like, oh, this whole campaign's fucking a waste of time and ruined because the AI is never gonna fight me for the whole campaign, you know. And you know, the opposite of that is when every battle's challenging and you feel like you're fighting against a computer fucking Napoleon, then you know that's engaging, that's really good, you know, that's what you want. So you know, I guess all I'm saying is my heart goes with the UCA. I hope that you can pull off this AI thing. I don't understand how it works. Like, I'm not a technical person, but I understand that it's really, really fucking hard because very few people manage to successfully pull it off in their game and do a really good AI. So hopefully you guys can pull off something really good with that. And if that's the reason, if the reason why Warhammer 3 got delayed for 6 months is because you wanted to spend 6 months getting the AI up to scratch, then you have my 100% support. Like, fucking take longer. Just do whatever you got to do to make that AI good. Anyway, it also means that Siege is more challenging for target defenders, particularly when entirely controlled, and play meaningful losses even with small garrisons if played well. Yeah, and that's good. That's realistic. You know, a small garrison should be able to really, you know, put it to a big army that's trying to attack if it's a good good walled settlement. It will take a true army to bust through the defense of a fortress, and starving out the defenses through a newly balanced attrition may be a better option than charging the wall. I actually love to see that if they actually bring in meaningful attrition and starving out, because at the moment, like, no one that I know ever like actually starves out defenders. Like, you always just attack. One, because you can always just use siege attacker to attack, and two, because most of the sieges you can cheese the hell out of them, and so it's always better to use that cheese in manual battle, you know. Of course, every day you spend starving them out is another day of them building supplies to construct defenses should you attack before they give up. Okay, that's interesting. So you actually get more supplies the more time that you wait. Minor settlement battles. Okay, here we go. This is all further enhanced by minor settlement battles coming to Warhammer 3. They follow many of the same improvements as sieges, most notably that we have designed a huge number of special maps for each minor settlement rather than using lightly modified land maps. The main difference is that these are not walled, but otherwise use the same systems of key buildings, towers, and barricades. Victory requires either a routed enemy or captured settlements, as in other Total War.
They allow defenders to prepare for
As mentioned, sieges still have a supply count to build. So I was hoping that the so minor settlements, the main difference is these are not walled. I was hoping the minor settlements could still be walled, so that perhaps like this here, I was hoping that perhaps this was a minor settlement that has walls, but maybe this is not a minor settlement that has walls. Maybe this is just like a small portion of a much larger settlement. Like maybe this is the same as that Grand Bastion battle that we saw, but this is just a little bit of the fortress poking out, and there's actually heaps more of it up out of screen up to the top. Like maybe this is like a little part like this, and then it actually goes out like that, you know, above where we can see on the screen. But yeah, I'd really like to see walled minor settlements, like with unique maps and stuff, because at the moment, like, you know, if you attack a walled settlement, it's just gives you like a full city map. Basically, it's the same size as a big capital. So yeah, so I don't know if I'm reading this wrong or something, but is it saying that no minor settlements have walls? I think that they did that in Thrones of Britannia. I'm not sure if I liked it or not, but yeah, I think it's Thrones of Britannia where only the capital city of the province has walls. All the minor settlements never have walls. You can't build walls on them at all. So that'd be interesting. It'd be also interesting if it was unique settlement to settlement, like some can have walls, some can't, or whatever, or maybe. But anyway, so yeah, minor settlements. The main difference is that these are not walled. So yeah, interesting. So minor settlements are not walled. So does that mean that no minor settlement can ever have walls? Or does that mean if you build walls, then you just get a normal siege battle like we get now? Like your minor settlement suddenly gets upgraded to being a capital city with massive walls and shit. But if you don't build walls, then you get the settlement battle. But otherwise use the same key building districts and towers. Victory requires either routed enemy or captured settlement. As mentioned, the defenders still have supply count to build barricades and towers. Without an initial wall to have to act as a stopgap, it's much more frantic. Shift and move any time. You're unlikely to have time to build up a full stock of supplies. So make sure your initial placements are up to snuff. Fair enough. Barricades are in position to prevent deeper access, or at the very least demand that attackers take a more circuitous route. Blah. Towers are on platforms that are out of reach from melee units. Only flyers and ranged units can target them. However, they are also destroyed if their attached capture point is taken, making quick moving or stealthy troops another option. Balancing reasons have made it so flying and summon units cannot capture points. Okay, that's pretty cool. But there's nothing stopping them from wiping out forces surrounding them, having some of their landlocked or corporeal allies coming to assist. Flyers are particularly effective at defending ranged units from peppering your other attackers as they approach. Yeah, so there's some. I don't know if it's a problem. It's actually kind of cool, but at the moment, you know, you can stealth into settlements and take capture points. You can also like, you know, get onto the settlement and then like summon units onto the enemy's like town center and stuff like that to capture it. So they're getting rid of that. Minor settlements are now exactly what they should be. Smaller sieges over less massive settlements, but with all the same grit and determination from both sides to conquer the area. They're varied from each other, normal land battles and other sieges, adding a third to the usual most common two types of battles. New layouts and options also mean that should you wish to, taking manual control over defense against rampaging army can really whittle them down over time, making it easier to defend your lands if your main armies are off making war anyway. Elsewhere, yeah, so this is kind of like a Western Roman Empire Attila type of thing that they're talking about. So even if you can't stop their armies, you just manually fight every siege as they take settlement after settlement, penetrating deep into your land. You can like whittle them down using your defenses or whatever. That's the theory. Again, that'll all come down to balance and stuff, but it seems like they got the right building blocks in that they need to do it. Then they just tweak it until they get it right. But that's another really massive thing here. This line here, they're varied from each other and normal land battles and other sieges, adding a third to the usual most common two types of battle. So I think that's like another complaint a lot of people have at the moment, that like they hate sieges. And so basically they've got land battles, and every time they do a siege they just auto resolve it because they hate sieges so much. So now you got three different types of battles. So you got sieges, you got land battles, and you got minor settlements, which are different from sieges and different from land battles. So, you know, even if you hate one of those, you've still got two others that hopefully you're going to like. And even if you hate all of them, at least you got more variety now, so you're not going to be fighting the same type of battle over and over. And even within those types, they're saying there's going to be more variety as well. So I think that's the main takeaway from this. That's another main takeaway, just the whole variety thing. At least you're not fighting the same siege over and over again. You know? Probably like 3 kingdoms, yeah, probably. A true army, so not a plague Gracie or one rally cannon, a plague club battle. I don't know. Yeah, yeah, we'll have to see how that plays out. The Great Bastion, alright, what's going on with the Great Bastion? Nowhere are the changes to... This is a long blog post, so maybe I'm just really excited about every part of it, so it's taken a long time to get through it. Nowhere are the changes to sieges more relevant than in Grand Cathay. The Great Bastion is a mighty wall built to contain the tides of chaos many thousands of years ago by the Celestial Dragon Emperor himself. It is now the domain of Miao Ying, the Storm Dragon, and she defends it with her life and soldiers. Gameplay wise, it has relevant and unique elements on and off the battle map. During a campaign, as you control, hold and build up the Great Bastions, Cathay, Chaos forces will begin to gather, preparing to attack. You can ride out to usher them to a swift death, or allow them to attack and break against the wall as so many have before them. Numerous events and small quests will be set around these walls, and controlling and managing them properly is a big part of the Cathayan campaign in the north. Okay, once on the battlefield, Bastion is incredibly defensible fortress, one single attackable wall with clear fallback points regularly interspersed towards the center. Strong walls with powerful towers are followed by swathes of buildable locations and built defensible positions. However, all this is needed as the forces that will come to take it are truly titanic. The Chaos Gods know the value of breaching the Great Bastion. Their armies will flood from the realm of chaos if it is disturbed, be that by you or another faction. Their armies will flood from the realm of chaos if it is disturbed. So does that mean if you just don't bother chaos, they won't bother you? They'll just be like the friendly neighbors? Interesting. Conquer demons, fight for the future. Be you attacking an enigmatic fortress of Zeech, or... Ooh, be you attacking an enigmatic fortress of Zeech. So I didn't say the enigmatic fortress of Zeech, so there's definitely more than one. That's cool. So there's definitely more than one chaos fortress, because up at the start it said something about that. Or defending the Great Bastion of Decay, or anything in between. Siege is going to be so new and exciting. New systems highly flexible and moddable. Good point there. Giving far more tools for you and us to expand them in the future. Looking forward to you getting your hand on it in early 2022. So yeah, just reconfirming. Going to be early 2022. So I'd say early 2022 means April at the latest, the very latest. So hopefully that means like, you know, February, March maybe. But yeah, up here it said something about chaos fortresses.
Introduced in Warhammer 3, supplies. We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement. Minor supply, key building, and victory points. These points have pre-designated
Greenskins have more ramshackle fortresses that are no less deadly, which themselves pale in comparison to the weirdness of the strongholds dedicated to each chaos god on the outskirts of the realm of chaos. So yeah, so each chaos god is going to have multiple siege map strongholds dedicated to them on the outskirts of the Realm of Chaos. So that's interesting. So it says only on the outskirts. So does that mean there's no strongholds within the Realm of Chaos? It's only on the outskirts. That's sort of interesting. So Cathay's got its Great Bastion, and Chaos has got its Great Bastion. There's like a ring of fortresses around the outside of the Realm of Chaos. And you would think that they would have, like, just say the Realm of Chaos, like that's the border of it. So it's going to have, like, you know, Zeech fortresses. Then next to that there'll be like Khorne fortresses. Like, but then on the border, like between Khorne and Zeech's Realm of Chaos, are they going to have fortresses in there as well, like defending against each other, or do they just kind of fight on the eternal battlefields or whatever? Yeah, I don't know. No, what happened there?
Settlements in Warhammer
there we go.
have been designed with more
Um,
and strategic avenues to
Wow, there's a lot to unpack there.
Making flanking and devastating charges a more viable tactical strategy.
AI seems very exploitable. You can fake threaten from one side, bait the units there, then attack en masse on the other side. Yeah, that's something you can do now. I'll be interested to see how they deal with that, like anti-AI derping sort of tactics.
They add a new currency to manage and spend on fortifying defense.
I was gonna have a quick look, watch this again, and see if we can kind of pick out any details about the siege maps or anything interesting in here. If anyone said anything interesting before that I didn't notice because I was too busy reading the content and everything, please just post it again and just write @MercyTheMad so that I see your question or your comment.
Coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges packed with highs, lows, and fun.
Yeah, I wonder what's going on there with this. Like, so it's like if like they said something about that, like after she lost the siege, then she like retreated up the hill or whatever. Yeah, like I wonder what's going on with that. Like, if there's actually some sort of multiple siege, like multiple linked siege maps type of thing, kind of like in like Mountain Blade Warband, how you would like fight the outer wall siege, and then you'd have like an extra fight when you get inside or something. Dima says nothing new, no moats, no traps on the walls, traps at the gates, etc. I don't think it's nothing new's fair. I think there's a lot of new stuff. Yeah, what's this retreating part? Retreating in sieges, yeah.
They allow defenders to prepare for a new kind of battle occurring after the attackers have taken the primary walls. They add a new currency to manage and spend on fortifying.
Rome 2 expansion had double battle when besieging Rome itself, so the tech is available to implement if they choose to. Yeah, that would be a cool thing to link to the upgrade of walls. So like maybe when you build walls, like maybe you have the walls building for your capital, and if you build that, then it gives you like the extra defensive battle, so they have to siege it twice. Like actually that'd be a really cool strategic thing. Imagine if you could put an upgrade on your major settlements that meant they had to siege it twice. So they siege the outer wall that protects the town, and then if they take the town, then they have to siege the keep or the palace or whatever that's up on the hill that's fortified as well. And that could be like an upgrade that you actually pay. Like they could make it just automatic on the capitals or whatever, which would be cool. But it'd also be cool if you could make it as a purchasable upgrade that costs quite a lot, so that sometimes you use sieges just as a one-turn delay time because you know that most armies aren't going to attack on the first turn when they siege. So you just do this upgrade that means that it's going to take 2 turns for them to siege it. So it can be like a blade of armor, on your, like I was saying before, if you've got like one side of your empire being attacked, how many armies there, just delays them, Doesn't seem anything stopped me flying Malagor to a corner and casting Flock of Doom 100 times, which is exactly how I play him now. Hey Gavin, yeah. Be interesting to see if how they can deal with some of these things. Chaos.
To adapt to an ever-changing battle. All of these features, coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges packed with highs, lows, and phenomenal visuals.
The visuals are pretty phenomenal.
Forces of Siege will struggle to reach the
Wait.
All of these features, coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges packed with highs, lows, and phenomenal visuals. Wei Jin has fallen, but the forces of Tzeentch will struggle to reach the celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor is safe for now. Even so, his daughter has barely managed to escape with her life. To Nangao she travels.
That really seems like a double settlement battle, doesn't it? Like, what else are they describing there except for, like what Albert said with Rome 2 expansion having double battle when besieging Rome itself? Like, that sounds, that's, like, what else could they be describing there? That seems like that must be what they're saying, that you get a second, siege.
Wei Jin has fallen, but the forces of Tzeentch will struggle to reach
the
celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor is safe for now. Even so,
this seems like it's a double siege. She's lost that siege, she's gone to Nangao, and now she's going to have another siege. Yeah. Or maybe it's not a double siege, maybe it's just like the ability to actually flee from sieges. Maybe it's only capital cities. That would make sense. So it'd just be like Altdorf, Castle Drakenhof, you know, Lothern. Those ones have like double ones. Fort like settlement next to it on the campaign map. Yeah, that could be it. It could actually be like a double, like it could actually be like on the map there's like two settlements right next to each other, and you like, because of the way the map's laid out, you can't get to the second one until you've occupied the first one. That's just maybe it's not like a double siege. Maybe it's just like the capital's there and then there's like a fortress gate right next to it that you can't get past unless you know.
Is a three-walled fortress and a testament to
building in real time just does not fit for me. Maybe build all you need before to create ideal scenario for your army, but this seems a bit too arcadey. Yeah, I get that, Shatax. And I mean, to an extent, I kind of feel the same way, but I can see the potential for the fun factor. You know what I mean? Like I can see this could potentially be really fun, and that's kind of where I was going with the whole like MOBA thing before. I wasn't meaning to like start some shit by criticizing it as being MOBA-ish. I was more meaning that just that level of like, it obviously won't be as much like an actual MOBA, but in MOBAs, like MOBAs are super dynamic. Like the situation is ever shifting. You know, you got to be like monitoring everything. You're building stuff. You're attacking things like while you're simultaneously, you know, like doing stuff on the other side of the map. You know, all that kind of stuff. So I feel like these kind of changes are kind of designed to bring in a little bit of that kind of vibe. And I only mean that in a positive way. Yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is, yeah, I mean, aesthetically, maybe I don't like this sort of gamey, arcadey sort of thing, but in terms of actually when you play it, it seems like it could potentially be really fun. So you know what I mean? Even if it's like, oh, that doesn't really represent realistic battles, but it's fun as fuck, so who gives a shit? You know, but that's kind of like where I'm probably going to be at with it. But that relies on it being fun, you know. But I think that the elements, like, I don't see there's any reason why these elements can't be really fun. You know what I mean? The only thing I think it's just the balance. It's just how the actual balance plays out, and with the AI and how the AI handles it. That's the two things that are going to decide whether this is a success. You know, it's like all of the stuff they've described here is great, seems fine. You know, but if the balance is off and it's too arcadey, like you're able to pop down walls and pop up other walls and fucking, you know, and it's just stupid, you know, then that's obviously going to be bad. If it's like too slow, maybe I don't know, like, you know what I mean, like the balance of how you get resources and how fast you can build, I think basically is the one issue. If they get that right, which they assume they will, because they can just tweak it until they do get it right, you know. And the only other thing is the AI, you know, like I don't know how they're going to get the AI to work with this. It seems like so hard. It seems like such a massive undertaking. But you know, hats off to them. Hats off to them for trying. Like, this is very ambitious. I'm really impressed and just really really grateful that they're. I'm grateful that they took the risk, you know. And I think that the one good thing about this now is that even if it's a fucking disaster, you know, like, and I'm not saying it's going to be like, but let's just, you know, take a step back for a second. Just say this is a complete fucking disaster. Just say the balancing is completely off. Like nobody likes the building things. It feels really arcadey or whatever. We hate that. Also, the AIs just fucking completely can't deal with it. You know, the AI can't defend at all. They just derp into a corner of the map, or you just take over everything or whatever. You know, even if it's a complete fucking disaster, they aren't going to pull it out. You know what I mean? The sunk cost already, the amount of effort they've already put into instituting this means that they have to make it work, you know? So even if we have like a catastrophic Rome 2 launch where it's completely fucked and there's a big backlash or whatever, it'll get fixed, you know what I mean? That, like, for those of us that are watching the stream that are probably going to buy the game, play the game, fucking no matter how bad it is, like, we don't give a shit, like, it'll get fixed eventually, and it will eventually be good, you know? Like, so that's what I'm saying, like, going big, like, for me, like, this is one of the things I love about CA, specifically I love about what they did with Warhammer. They went fucking big. They said, we're gonna do everything. We're gonna put everything in this. We're gonna make this the biggest, best fucking Warhammer game that's ever been made. That's like, I'm like, you know, that's not like word for word, but basically that's what they said, you know. And when you aim high, then, you know, you can reach high. You know, you don't reach high by just saying, oh, we're just going to do a cheap little saga title here where we don't want to make the scope too big. We want to focus in on it, blah blah. Like, that's never going to be any good. You know, it's not going to be straight away. Whereas, yeah, I feel like this is just really ambitious, and yeah, I'm pretty impressed. Like, as I said, I do have those little concerns that, yeah, maybe I don't like it as much as more traditional sieges or whatever, but I think honestly it's going to be fun. I think it may be hard for them to pull it off, but maybe a bit rough at the start. But I reckon that the bones are going to be good, and that they're going to make it awesome. It'd be crazy for them to rebuild every race's siege maps, but I guess that's possible. Yeah, I don't think that's really that big of a deal, Akion. Because, you know, they'll build a palette, right? You know, they'll build the map. They would have built the map making tools, you know what I mean? They don't like design every map in code, you know what I mean? They would design the tools with all the different towers and walls and all that shit, the palette, and then they have level designers that design the actual maps, you know, and that stuff's all very tweakable and changeable, you know. They can, like, then they can give that to the testers, they play it, they're like, oh, I was able to derp out the AI on this corner, and they're like, oh cool, we'll just change that map a little bit or whatever, you know. So yeah, so I think once you build a palette, then they just would like pump out shitloads of maps, you know what I mean? They just have a team of dudes, you know, just pumping out maps, testing maps and making more maps. I think the only thing I think with that is, because there's going to be so many maps, I reckon that they're not going to be able to test them all properly, so some of the maps are going to be all really derpable. Like, I reckon, like, after the release, you know, there's going to be like all these Reddit posts about like, oh, I found this map where if you attack the, you know, Dwarf Fortress map version number 3 or whatever, then you can totally screw up the AI in this corner or whatever. But as I said, like, that stuff is all going to be very fixable, you know. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that. Oh man, I'm so excited about this. I don't even want to start my stream. I just want to keep like watching this video and just, you know, I just want to like stew in that like in that excitement about Warhammer 3, you know. But yeah, I don't know if yeah, I mean, you guys let me know if you've got more stuff to say about this. They cannot build barricades or towers. Even current sieges are better than this. It's just towers times 2 and tedious catch point system and artillery. I'm disappointed. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess that's just a stylistic thing, you know, like, some people don't like their sort of more gamey system of building things inside the settlement and stuff like that. I think this is straight away more interesting than the current sieges. Like, I'm on board. I love the idea of fighting inside the settlement with interesting stuff going on, with the maps being in bigger maps are always cool because they give you more you know, more stuff to do, you know. I'm wondering what the siege tower ranges are going to be like outside the siege. Like, I wonder if there's going to be places outside the walls where you can set up without being able to be shot, because that was a bit of an interesting interesting. Mercy wants partner status is going to be good. No, really? Why is that? I think I'm just being honest. God Mercy, you sound like such a big fanboy right now. Dude, I fucking am. I fucking am a fanboy. Like, I don't hide it. Like, I'm, like, my take on this game is, my take on this whole franchise is, like, I fucking love Warhammer. I fucking love Total War. Both of these things I've loved, like, pretty much my whole adult life. You know, or with Warhammer, I've loved it since before I was even an adult, you know. So the combination of these two things is just fucking jizz-tastic for me. So, you know, and Creative Assembly, and I've talked about this a lot before, but there's very few, in my opinion, there's very few game companies in the whole world that are capable of making a decent fucking game. Like, I don't, like, 99% of the games that get created in the world, I don't give a shit. They're not worth me even looking at, you know. The only games I care about are the ones that are the best. And Creative Assembly is one of the companies that's able to make games that are the best. And so, you know, they've got my loyalty, you know, they've got my admiration, and then they've got my support, I guess, in that sense. But I'm not super diplomatic. Like, if I don't like stuff or I'm worried about stuff, I tend to sort of say it, you know. But I am conscious about that other stuff of, like, you know, people work on this, people like have put their hard work into this stuff and everything, and so, like, I try to be a bit more diplomatic with stuff like that. Like, you know, when I see something, I'm like, oh, that looks fucking shit house, whoever did that should be killed, or something, you know. I try not to say stuff like that, because it's like everything that you see is the culmination of people's hard work and all that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, yeah, I can dig that. I mean, yeah, there's definitely like that viewpoint of, like, any sort of defending of CA is like shilling and whatever, blah blah, but whatever. Anyway, my point being, yes, I am a complete fucking fanboy. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm a shill though, because I don't get paid by CA or anything. They don't even tell me when they're going to release shit. Like, I didn't even know this was coming out. Like, I just woke up like 4 hours after this came out, ready to do my normal stream. I didn't even know they were releasing this video. So, you know what I mean? But yeah, I'm positive about it. Like, I'm definitely positive about it because I fucking love this game. You know, like, Warhammer 3 is the single thing I'm looking forward to most in life. Like, I don't know if that's cool or if that's sad, but that's how it is, you know. So yeah, anyway. Maybe I should have said that at the start of the video for people that don't know me or whatever. Like, hey, before we get into this, let me just tell you that I'm going to be really fucking excited about this. But if you've been watching my previous reactions to Cathay and stuff, my basic attitude has been like, yeah, that's cool, whatever. I don't really give a shit about Cathay, you know. And so yeah, they're much less excited. I'm much more excited about this Siege rework than I am about Cathay. Don't get me wrong. I think Cathay looks beautiful. I just don't have that history of like 30 years of loving Cathay like I do with Chaos and Empire and stuff like that, you know. Cathay is just like a new thing that I'm like, oh yeah, maybe it's cool, whatever. It's just, it doesn't have, like, you know, I'm like interested, but I'm not really jizzing over myself to try out Cathay. They're just like, you know what I mean? They're like a new thing that I haven't had time to grow to love yet. Hey Anthony Luau, I'm excited for when you do a Cathay rework and I can reserve a hero name. You'll be able to use my Chinese name and it'll be lore appropriate. Awesome. Yeah, that's true. Like, because I always change my. So yeah, for anyone who watches my streams, like, sometimes I do like streams focusing on like you know, renaming all the characters after people in chat and stuff like that. But my rule is that the names always have to be lore appropriate. So some people have like really cool, like, especially guys from like Germany and stuff like that, they have really cool like roleplay appropriate names for if I'm playing Empire, you know. Whereas yeah, Anthony's probably had that happen where I've like bastardized his name into some like Skaven version or something like that. But yes, that's right. Yeah, if we play Cathay, you'll be able to have like full Chinese names. Hey, Dangerous Dave, how you going, man? Playthrough, yeah. I just think it addresses none of the issues with sieges and adds some minimalistic add-ons that they already did in several games before. Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, Don. Sure. I think like what I've been saying, like kind of throughout, is that we can't really pass judgment on it yet, because a lot of it's gonna just come down to the balance and how well it's implemented. You know, how good the AI is, how well it's balanced, how good the map design is. You know, like until you actually play it, you really can't. You know, you just can't really say how good or how fun it's gonna be. But yeah, that's. I mean, yeah, I think that the bones of what they put in are good. Like I think it's. I think I kind of get what you mean, is that it doesn't necessarily address some of the issues that people have had, but it sort of, it's more like it changes the game. You know, it's like the community said, oh, the sieges need to have this, and this fixed, and then CA's kind of gone like, okay, well, we're not going to fix any of those things. We're just going to get rid of the sieges and just make a totally new siege system that's totally different and has its own different issues. You know what I mean? I feel like that's kind of like that. They just moused over a barricade building which showed the status effects on units it causes. Oh, cool. Where was that? You know what timestamp it was at?
New ways of attacking as well as defending.
New ways of attacking as well as defending. Oh yeah, I wonder what's going on with siege weapons. Like, have we seen any siege towers or rams? I can't see any ram. They're just running up with their pocket ladders, bloody. They're like, you know, like pocket ladders. People don't like pocket ladders. Well, too bad. There's still pocket ladders. They didn't address that. People don't like you can't set up siege weapons on the walls. Too bad. Still can't do that. You know, they didn't say anything about changing the way that, like, I think one of the main concerns that I have about sieges that I don't see that they've addressed is the whole thing of, like, if your units are defending on a wall, then the enemy infantry shouldn't be able to just climb up the wall and beat the shit out of your dudes on top of the wall. Like, you know, like if you played Mountain Blade or Bannerlord and you tried to like climb up a siege ladder and climb over the crenellations while like 17 guys with halberds are fucking hacking at you, and you just instantly die when you get to the top of the ladder, and you're watching like your hundreds of troops like trying to climb over the walls, and every time they get to the top they just get like halberded instantly, and your troops are just grinding themselves to death on the walls. Like that's pretty much how I imagine an actual siege working, you know. And that's sort of like how I kind of wish that sieges worked in this game to a degree. Maybe not that badly, but like I feel like, you know, just bum rushing you guys over the walls, which I love to do, shouldn't really work. But it doesn't. I can't see that they've actually changed anything with that. So that's probably the one disappointment, I guess, that I can identify so far. Well, not a disappointment, but one worry that they haven't addressed. You know.
Wei Jin, capital of the Celestial Dragon Empire.
Hey, dude like me. Yeah, just watching this video, seeing what we can find in it. I think we're nearly wrapping it up now though, but there was some stats that we were trying to find. Yeah, so they just busted the door down. There was no siege towers or anything.
It's time to fall back to our secondary.
Yeah, see here? You can see it on the walls. Fucking pink horrors have just climbed over the walls and they're beating the shit out of the defenders. So, like, yeah, that's just the one thing, like, although it's great having this multi-layered defense and, like, fighting the streets and all that kind of stuff, like, what's the point of having walls if the walls don't fucking keep out the dudes? You know, you know, like having all this, like, fighting in the streets and all that stuff is great. And like, I'm really looking forward to that mini game. But still, like, the basic thing of having a walled settlement is that the most important thing about, like, the single most important thing about a walled settlement is the walls. You know, like, the walls should keep the enemies out. At least to a degree, you know? And yeah, I'm a bit worried that that hasn't been changed at all and the walls are still completely fucking useless. You know what I mean? Like, are we still going to have that thing where you set up inside the walls and let them just abandon the walls?
We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement. Minor supply.
Does anyone have the timestamp on when they show these? So there's this. There's this thing, where everyone inside the fort gets melee defense plus 15%, leadership plus 10. I saw that.
And victory points. These key points have pre-designated build locations for construction.
Missile resistance. Oh yeah. No, I've seen this before. Yeah. No, that's not what I was talking about. So this is this. So when you build these type of barricades, each one has their own different effect. There's 3 different types. They all have different. They do different things. So this one gives you plus 15% missile resistance to all friendlies within 32-meter range. So if you're in a circle anywhere around there, even if you're on the outside of it or the inside, doesn't matter, then you get missile resistance, right? But what I was talking about was the dockable thing. They talked about before how there's how units can be dockable on these barricades, and they can be dockable on like this raised platform, dockable. And by dockable, they mean the same way as when you put a unit onto a wall, how it sort of like automatically kind of fronts up to the front of the wall and like connects onto there. And it said that there's like buffs or whatever associated with that, with the dockable units. And I just wanted to know what that is.
Once a barricade or tower is constructed, it can be dismantled for a
should be able to push or destroy ladders. Yeah, push or destroy or something. Like there should be some sort of, I don't know. I just think like it should be hard to assault walls. Like,
elsewhere, but keep in mind, construction and dismantling.
Like, do you know what I mean? It should, like, I think in real life sieges, you need to have like 10 to 1 or something, you know, like you have to have like massively high, massively outnumber them to try to do a wall assault, you know? And, but in this game, it's just like,
barricades and towers are destroyed if their health reaches 0 or if the supply.
Has anyone watched like Indie Pride's reaction video yet, or Grateful Grudges?
Your supplies are not refunded.
I don't know if I should like react to what they reacted to or whatever. Like, I'm not really good at this YouTube stuff. I don't really know how it's supposed to work, but yeah.
Rather than a messy brawl in the streets, Warhammer 3's
hey, Deep Breath. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate your support.
Settlement's architecture to plan and execute layered fallbacks and hardpoints, where they can chip away at an attacker's forces. To this end, settlements have become multi-leveled with bridges and upper tiers that cross over streets, giving ranged units more opportunities to shine. A good many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit. In sieges, both the attacker and defender's role are tactically more challenging and more rewarding. Settlements in Warhammer 3 have been designed with more open areas and strategic avenues to hide troops in. The avenues are the perfect ambush spot, making flanking and devastating charges a more viable tactical strategy. In overview, Warhammer 3's sieges offer
I guess that I guess I was going to say one like little criticism of the trailer as well is that, you know, this stuff, it's promotional, you know what I mean? Like, this is a promotional video designed to sell the game, you know what I mean? It's not like a PR release designed to address concerns, so probably not too loud.
They allow for a
yeah, it's not like a PR release designed to address concerns. It's a promotional video designed to drive sales. So basically, they're only going to talk about good stuff that they think is going to sell games. There's a fart sound at 442.
Packed with highs,
okay.
Lows, and phenomenal visuals.
Thanks, Mr. Zensky.
Wei Jin has fallen.
Here we go.
Forces of siege will struggle to reach the celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor is
there was a little fart sound there.
Even so,
you're right.
His daughter has
well picked up.
managed to escape with her life. To Nangao she travels.
Yeah, so what I was saying is like it's promotional video, right? So all that they're doing, they've listed like 5 or 6 like selling points, you know, like huge map variety, bigger maps, like this kind of like MOBA type or game arcade type building stuff and moving your defenses around, you know. What's that, 3 minor settlement battles, so 4.
Settlement maps are now
can't remember, maybe there's more.
larger,
So
and
like
we've
4
introduced
selling
more
points, right?
variety of maps
And
than
that's
in
all they're doing. They're
previous
just talking
games.
about there's 4 things that are great about Warhammer 3, 4 things that are great about the new sieges, 4 reasons you should buy Warhammer 3, 4 reasons why you should get excited. If you're already going to buy Warhammer 3, there's 4 reasons why you should be happy, you know? It's what it does not do is it does not address any of the concerns directly, you know? So not being able to build artillery, not being able to put artillery on the outer walls, it doesn't address whether or not you can do that. It just says that you can put them on the inner platforms, you know. So you assume that means you can't, but it doesn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't actually address any of the things. It's just promoting the stuff that's good, which is what you want. You know what I mean? Like if you were designing this video and you like say, we couldn't put artillery on the walls, but we tried to put it inside because that's like almost as good. You know what I mean? That's then like the execs are going to be like, why the fuck did you draw attention to the fact that you can't put artillery on the walls? That's really shit and counterproductive to the whole idea of promoting the game. You know what I mean? So it makes sense that they don't address any of the issues in this video directly.
The walls will soon fall. It's time to fall back to our second.
The walls will soon fall. That's them addressing it. They're like, the walls will soon fall. That's what walls are designed to fall and fall back from.
The walls will soon fall.
That's right.
It's time to
just
fall
like in all my sieges, the walls will soon fall. As soon as the crappy pink horrors put their ladders on the walls, then the walls will soon fall. That's how it works. I am so excited, Frank. I am so excited. I'm way more excited about this than I was about the roster reveal, got to admit. Especially since we'd already seen all the units for the roster thing. Artillery on the wall, outer wall is overrated. If the enemy's able to reach the wall, say goodbye to that unit. Upgraded towers are already artillery anyway. Yeah. I'm not saying I necessarily wanted to have artillery on the outer walls, Martin. I was just saying that just the way that I was just sort of trying to explain this is promotional material. It's not like a PR release, you know, addressing concerns. And they don't, so technically they don't actually address any of the concerns. They're just promoting the stuff that they've done. But yeah, I wish we could find something about this dockable unit buff. I don't know if maybe they just misspoke. Maybe they were talking about the buffs that we were looking at before. You know, not actual buffs for dockable units.
So defenders don't need to be across a larger area close for them to be active. This means we can spread our docked units across a larger area.
Oh yeah, see, what's this spread this docked units over a larger area? I don't know what the fuck they're talking about there. Like, on most sieges, I can like get one unit and spread it out in single file so it covers the entire length of the wall. You know what I mean? Like from map edge to map edge, well, not really, but like about one. You can, like in some maps, you can spread out units so much they can cover about 1/3 of the entire width of the map with one unit. You know, so like I don't know how much further you want to spread them out. It's weird.
Capture areas, so defenders don't need to be as close for them to be active. This means we can spread our docked units across a larger area and pepper the invaders with arrows, bullets, and artillery on their approach. The might of Grand Cathay isn't enough to keep Siege from breaching the wall.
Yeah. So this is the really, fuck, now that I've noticed this is actually kind of pretty disappointing. This is like one of the main things that I hate about sieges is that you can't hold the walls. Like one of the player fantasies that I have is like I've got my elite heavy infantry, you know, like I've got my my fucking medieval 2 feudal knights or something that like man for man are like the most powerful, you know, force of the game or whatever for melee infantry, you know, and I put them at the top of the walls, and as like just so you can see this ladder here, there's ladder right here in the middle of the screen, right? There's one dude's going to come up on this ladder, just so these guys were halberdiers instead of archers. One guy comes up this ladder, these 2 halberdiers are directly in base-to-base contact with him, right? They can hit straight away, but if he pushes in, then he's going to come into contact with these other 2 as well, possibly even like more, you know? So that one unit model is going to come in here, and he's going to initially get attacked by 2 enemy models, and then maybe he attacks one of them back. He pushes in, and then he's going to be able to get attacked by 4 enemy models, and then he's going to be dead. you know, and then the next one's going to come in, you know, and he's going to maybe get like 2 hits on the enemy, and they're going to get like 2 and then another, and then 4. So they're going to get like 6 hits versus 2. So you know what I mean? They're going to just melt. They're going to melt everything coming up the walls, and it's going to take ages before these guys actually start to take attrition. Like that's how I imagine and how logically it makes sense that walls should work. But how it works at the moment is that basically they climb up the wall, and then you basically just have an pretty much even fight, and they just kind of push themselves more and more into your guys until they take the walls. Like I don't feel like the buffs and debuffs are like that big of a deal. But I mean, to be fair, I don't fight very often with I don't fight like low tier versus low tier. Like, you know, like I don't have like rangers, like elven rangers are defending and my elven rangers climbing up on the wall. Then you would probably see, because of the tiredness and whatever, you'd see a bit more like how I'm describing. But, you know, quite often you'll see like elite infantry attacking and versus like spearmen or whatever. But anyway, I don't know. I just, yeah. These are archers, right? So they're not going to really defend against these guys. So it makes sense. This is kind of like what I'm talking about, like elite infantry attacking like really weak infantry that instantly die. But I would really like, it would have made me feel a lot better if they had have, do you know what I mean? Like they didn't address it, but if this shot instead of these archers had have been halberdiers on the wall and these guys had have come up and started getting wrecked on the walls, that would have instantly made me really happy. Whereas this is instantly making me like, oh, I don't know, it seems kind of exactly the same. It's a bit of a bummer. Other dumb thing is how the units climbing walls are invulnerable, so magic or missiles can't be used to peel either. Oh, yeah, I hadn't even thought about that, Dash Dash. I know they're immune. I know you can't cast magic on the ladders, but yeah, I hadn't thought about the fact that you can't shoot them either. Also with the wall design, like you want to have, is it called enfilade? You like, just say this building here, if you could have archers on there, they'd be able to shoot sideways across the ladders. This is another thing you see in Mountain Blade sieges. Like you have these like overlapping fields of fire with archers shooting sideways, and that's kind of like, you know, that's how you want it to be. But yeah. But yeah, I mean, that would be a big mechanical change. See, all the changes they're doing here is like they're not really changing the mechanics of anything. They're just like adding in some different things and switching some stuff around, you know? Yeah. Yeah, I just, it's just like sieges just feel wrong. And that's one of the major reasons why, because you can't defend the walls. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like thinking about it now, I'm guessing it's just an engine limitation. Like there must be just nothing they can do about it. I guess. I don't know. I'd like to see more on that. This is only fun in things like Bannerlord. If they put this in Total War, you would rage. It would be extremely unfun. Well, I mean, yeah, I know what you mean, Marcus. Maybe you're right. Maybe that they did testing on it and they found that it just didn't work or whatever. But I feel like I'd like to have to like if it was a real siege, like, and I said, oh guys, attack the walls, the guys would be like, fuck that, I'm not climbing up the ladders, we're all gonna die. But then I'm like, all right, cool, I'll blow a hole in the wall with my trebuchet, and then once we've created a breach, then you charge through. And they're like, all right, it's still kind of a bit suicidal, but it'll probably work because we outnumber them, you know? And that's how sieges actually work, you know? Like you make a breach, and then the breach provides like the attackers some sort of at least morale bonus that they're going to be able to bust through and get into the defenders, who presumably are inferior in numbers, you know. But just that straight up attacking the prepared defenses that haven't been breached in any way, just directly climbing up the walls is like, you know what I mean? That's not how it should be. They were hyping up about how the rework was worth waiting for, and this is definitely not. They're like, yeah, I don't know. I think all of the things that they promoted were good. I just think that, yeah, they didn't like address this. Whoever it was that was complaining before about them not, it was John Dillinger, I think, that was basically saying that they, you know, didn't address anything. Now I think I'm a bit more coming along to what you're talking about. Yeah, they haven't addressed anything, but they've just promoted some other stuff that's going to make Siege better. I mean, I think it's still going to make Siege a lot more interesting and varied, and all the stuff they've said, more interesting, more varied, bigger maps, you know, different types of Siege battles. All that stuff's good, but yeah, it doesn't address yeah, it doesn't actually address the issues, but it's you know, it distracts us from the issues. Maybe makes us not be as annoyed about the issues.
Our defense now lies with our
It's not perfect, but I think they're going in the right direction. Oh, well, I think it's an improvement.
We'll need a new currency introduced in Warhammer 3, supplies. We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies.
Yeah, I haven't really thought about how I really wanted those walls to work and how they don't.
Supply, key building.
Like, yeah, like just say I'm dwarves and I'm defending a Karak, you know? Like, you know, my ancestors have built these fucking walls out of the, you know, the best stonework that we're proud of, our dwarven traditions of impenetrable defenses and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, instead of putting a line of iron breakers on the walls and like, that's it, they just stop them there. The armies just break against the outer walls of the Karak, like, you know, like waves on the rocks. You know, we're like, oh, no, got to abandon the walls because no one can hold walls in this game. And we just have to pull back to the fucking barricade. You know, it's just... it's kind of fucked. Oh, another point about it is that the barricades are impenetrable. Like, if they get to a barricade, they can't climb over the barricades. So the outer walls do nothing. You can just climb over them. But the shitty barricade that you built in the shitty barricade that you build across one of these streets, that's impenetrable. They can't climb over that. I think they have to chop it down with axes before it goes away. So it's like, you know what I mean? How come like a crappy barricade in the streets is impenetrable until you've chopped it down with axes, but the outer wall that's made out of stone is not impenetrable at all? Like, what? But yeah, anyway.
And victory points. These key points have pre-designated build locations for construction. Once a barricade or tower is constructed, it can be dismantled for a refund of supplies and rebuilt elsewhere. Yeah. But keep in mind, construction and dismantling is a lengthy process. Barricades and towers are destroyed if their health reaches 0, or if the supply, building, or victory point they're attached to is taken by the attackers. If this occurs, your supplies are not refunded.
Design is so flawed,
it's worth noting that whilst attackers can capture,
I don't know if it's
they cannot build barricades
unfixable
or towers. Rather than a messy brawl in the streets, Warhammer 3's sieges are about defenders controlling the flow of battle, using a settlement's architecture to plan and execute layered
maybe monstrous units will be able to break the barricades easily. Yeah, maybe.
Attackers' forces.
Maybe there'll be different
settlements have become multi-leveled with bridges and upper tiers that cross over streets, giving ranged units more opportunities to shine. A good many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers...
see, this is dockable. What the... This phrase I really got an issue with.
To this end, settlements have become multi-leveled with bridges and upper tiers that cross over streets, giving ranged units more opportunities to shine.
So this like inside the settlement.
Many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other...
What does it mean? A good amount of these barricades and overlooks are dockable, giving them all the buffs
docked unit
of docked units,
giving ranged units more opportunities to shine. A good many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit.
What are the benefits and buffs of docked units? I assume it's missile defense and yeah, I don't know, missile defense. That's the only thing that I think they get. If it'd be really good if docked units got missile defense and melee defense, so that potentially they could actually fight properly on the walls. But I wonder if they actually keep their docked status after they get pushed into. You know, I wonder how long the docked status actually lasts for. Go back to the roof and look at the states. I didn't see any difference.
And settlements have become multi-leveled with ranged units more. A good many.
So
to shine. A good many.
Okay, so I've got peasant archers. They've selected them. This is what they look like right now. Now they've got nothing going on. They got 3 abilities. So they're not docked right now, right? Peasant archers.
Any of these
Peasant archers. Did that just suddenly just change them?
a good
Okay, they're there. Can't see anything interesting.
many of these
They're there. Did something just happen? Oh no, they switched to Jade Warrior crossbows. Peasant archers again.
bridges and overlooks are dockable.
Yeah, they just moved then. And like, nothing changed. And am I missing something? The buffs from docking don't show on unit cards, I don't think, or never noticed anything. Well, yeah, no, I've never seen any buffs from docked units anywhere. I never even knew there was buffs for docked units. That's why I'm so interested in this whole issue. Buffs instead of tactics, it's not a good design. Yeah, I agree with that in sentiment, Jan. But I mean, buffs are better than like nothing. You know, if there is actually a buff, I'd like to know. I'd like to confirm that and know vaguely what it is.
Like the primary walls.
Yeah, like the primary walls.
Are dockable. A good many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit.
All the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit. Okay, well, I don't know. There's a buffs and benefits for docked units. I don't know what they are, but yeah. I think I might have to just, yeah, I don't know.
Other docked unit. In sieges, both the attacker and defender's role are tactically more challenging and more rewarding.
Yeah, I've not seen any buffs. I don't know what the hell they're talking about. There is logic for some buffs like range and damage when on a wall compared to off wall. Is there? Yeah, oh yeah, I think I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I think I do remember something about increased range on a wall and possibly increased damage. I know you get increased, or is it? No, maybe that's from height advantage that I'm thinking of. I think
all the buffs
from one of Zerkovic's old videos talks about, I think you get up from height advantage. So like even how there's this ramp here, if you're on this ramp and you're shooting down below here, you get like probably like plus 15-20% damage, and I think maybe more range for shooting down from an elevated position. Elevated units do more damage. Yeah, exactly. Yellow bars are increased to stats, but you have to click on the unit to see them. Yellow bars are not increased to stats. Yellow bars are just green bars that are increased to stats, I thought. Yeah, the yellow is just like their normal stats.
As forces come multi-tiers, the units more. Many of these bridges and
that's just their normal stats.
Like primary walls.
It'd be like a green bit on there if it was buffs.
Benefits of any other docked unit. In sieges, both the attacker and defender's role are tactically more challenging and
it seems like it's still like worse to be on the walls than off the walls.
Have been designed with more open areas and strategic avenues to hide troops in. The avenues are the perfect ambush spot, making flanking and devastating charges a more viable tactical strategy.
It's funny, like, if you could actually take your own units outside the wall and then climb the walls with your own units, then that would actually be better, because then your climbing units would block their units, your climbing units would be invulnerable to missile and magic fire, and then your walls would actually be able to hold against the enemy. But you can't climb your own walls, I'm pretty sure, so it doesn't work.
Strategy. In overview, Warhammer 3's sieges offer a diverse array of fresh settlements to overcome and protect.
Show the yin and yang
they
buff.
Allow defenders to prepare
I don't know if it actually shows it in this. It shows, like, it appears on the unit card that they've got it.
walls.
It doesn't. I don't know if
They
we
add a
actually see
new
it.
currency to manage and spend on fortifying defensive fallback positions with barricades, towers, and traps which are used to further repel invaders. They allow for a multi-layered experience where units can be docked to overlooks and walls within the settlement itself, and encourages real-time reorganizing of defenses to adapt to an ever-changing battle. All of these features, coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges.
Good Man says buff is 20% range. You can see it in the video. You got a timestamp for that, Good Man, one? So I've been looking for the last like 10 minutes and I can't find any buffs. So if you got a timestamp for it, that'd be really good.
Packed with highs, lows, and phenomenal visuals. Wei Jin has fallen, but the forces of Tzeentch will struggle to reach the celestial city above. The Dragon Emperor is safe for now. Even so, his daughter has barely managed to escape with her life. To Nangao Shiathe is... The walls will soon fall. It's time to fall back to our secondary positions within the city. Our defense now lies with our barricades, traps, and towers. We'll need a new currency introduced in Warhammer.
These are the yin and the what do you call it? Yin and yang. I think the yin are the white ones, the yang are the black ones. Yeah, yin is infantry, yang is missile. So you can see which one's which, and when you put them near each other, they buff each other. So if you put a yin and a yang next to each other, they'll buff each other.
3. Supplies. We'll start the defense with a base number of supplies and can gain more during combat by holding locations around the settlement. Minor supply, key building, and victory points. These key points have pre-designated build locations for construction. Once a barricade or tower is constructed, it can be dismantled for a refund of supplies and rebuilt elsewhere. But keep in mind, construction and dismantling is a lengthy process. Barricades and towers are destroyed if their health reaches 0, or if the supply, building, or victory point they're attached to is taken by the attackers. If this occurs, your supplies are not refunded. It's worth noting that whilst attackers can capture points, they cannot build barricades or towers. Rather than a messy brawl in the streets, Warhammer 3's sieges are about defenders controlling the flow of battle, using a settlement's architecture to plan and execute layered fallbacks and hardpoints, where they can chip away at an attacker's forces. To this end, settlements have become multi-leveled with bridges and upper tiers that cross over streets, giving ranged units more opportunities to shine. A good many of these bridges and overlooks are dockable like the primary walls, giving our soldiers all the buffs and benefits of any other docked unit. In sieges, both the attacker and defender's role are tactically more challenging and more rewarding.
Maybe they mean the overlooks
in Warhammer 3 have been designed with more open areas and strategic avenues to hide troops in. The avenues are the perfect ambush
I might have
spot,
to
making flanking and
I think I might have to cancel my gaming stream for today, guys. I might just I might just cancel that. I don't think I'm gonna actually do it anymore. Sorry for you guys that were this has gone on like yeah, I was only planning on doing this for an hour. It's already been like 2.25 hours. So yeah, I might have to just cancel the gaming stream for tonight. Sorry guys. Too much excitement.
In overview, Warhammer 3's sieges offer a diverse...
Was I 316? Uh, 316. No, that's the barricade. Yeah. No, so I was saying it seemed to me like it was saying that there's like a separate like there's a separate buff that you get just for being docked. for any other, like, yeah, docked like any other docked unit. Like every docked unit gets some sort of buff that we don't know what it is. So yeah, so this is a specific buff that this particular range unit gets. Thanks for whoever that was that subscribed. Sorry, I missed the message. Yeah, appreciate it. I think somebody else subscribed earlier as well, and I missed that message too. So yeah, thanks for that, guys. Mercy's go hard science on the video. Yeah, exactly. I think I might have to just like have a little bit of time to myself to absorb all of this. I don't think I'm going to be able to concentrate on a campaign right now anyway. I'm a bit overstimulated.
Bits of any other docked unit.
Affected units not docked. Wow, what's that mean? Allows defending infantry to climb over it, but not attacking infantry, I guess. Affected units not docked. What the hell? So it's like, what the fuck? So your affected units that are not ranged units, no, that are not docked, they get plus 20 range, but the ones that are docked don't get it? Yeah, I don't know, that's weird. Oh, not docked, as in, right, there's no undocked unit. Yeah, okay.
Benefits of
it disappears just as we...
any other docked unit.
Was there a picture? Was there somewhere else? There was. I know it showed other buffs on other barricades. Oh yeah, like this. But they don't have anyone docked on them either.
Warhammer 3 have been designed with more and
I'm not sure if you can see the buffs when there's a unit on there.
Making flanking and devastating
it might just what's getting the effect. Yeah, maybe.
Tactical strategy. In overview, Warhammer 3's sieges offer a diverse array of fresh settlements.
Oh, maybe the buff only applies if there's a unit that's on it. So like maybe everyone in the area gets the buff, but only if somebody's actually docked on it. If you undock the main unit of archers that are on the walls, maybe the buff goes away. Buff is for units behind the barricades. Yeah, that would make sense, but it would make sense. It would not make any sense if the unit that's actually on it can't fire. I'm guessing maybe it means it's disabled if there's no one docked on it. Maybe.
To overcome and protect. They allow defenders to prepare for a new kind of battle occurring after the attackers have taken the primary walls. They add a new currency to manage and spend on fortifying defensive fallback positions with barricades, towers, and traps which are used to further repel invaders. They allow for a multi-layered experience where units can be docked to overlooks and walls within the settlement itself, and encourages real-time reorganizing of defenses to adapt to an ever-changing battle. All of these features, coupled with dynamic new settlement designs, make for challenging and satisfying sieges packed with highs, lows.
Well, I don't know. I think we've kind of covered most of the key points about it now. I think I'm going to go and try and absorb all this and see if I can put out like a condensed little 10-minute summary for my community. I'm guessing most has already been covered pretty thoroughly by the partners who have had access to this, would have had access to this earlier. But yeah, thanks guys for joining. Sorry, no gameplay stream today. I think I'm just gonna I might try and put out a video, or I might just have a break before work, because I'm gonna start work in like 2.5 hours.
Settlement maps are now larger, and we've introduced more variety of maps than in previous games.
Yeah.
With the fall of the turtle gate.
Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for sharing this excitement with me. I'm pretty excited about the new Siege rework. There's some things I'm still a bit worried about, but I mean overall it seems like it's more stuff, more stuff different maps, more maps, different new type of minor settlement battle that we didn't have before. So, you know, more content is more content, so can't argue with that. But yeah, no, it's been a really interesting conversation, interesting stream. Thanks a lot for everyone who contributed, and yeah, sorry I didn't get to address everything. There's a lot of comments, so yeah, sorry I didn't get to address all that stuff. Anyway, I'll be back with another gaming stream tomorrow, and yeah, thanks for joining, guys. Catch you guys later. Oh, if anyone wants to message me any additional things, please message me on Discord or chuck a comment in the video description at the bottom. I'll read all those comments later on. All right, thanks a lot, guys.